One of the things about touring that I advise you aspiring talents, this could save your life. I saved the life of 450 people because of this lesson. So I hope that you pay attention to this very serious and important lesson about touring. Whenever you're on the road and you're going to these clubs and venues that you've never been before, people you don't even know, you know nothing, in other words, about the gig that you're about to play at. And some of these gigs, you could be there for a whole week. You know, what you should do is take a look at the fire exits. Know where they are. Know where the options to leaving a club or a showroom are. We know in our past history in America that some of the greatest tragedies, the worst of the worst, were in nightclubs and showrooms and hotels and buildings that you've never been in before. So this story of the Magic of Polynesia and the fire, which has never been told before, as I mentioned earlier, is that story about how, because I was prepared. And why was I prepared and the employees who worked there weren't? Because of my experiences in touring and traveling and having been a part of fires in a room. And so those lessons taught me about being prepared. And so the story I'm about to tell you is true. No one knows about it except my very close friends. It's very shocking. I almost died. This is how it starts. In the last episode, I talked about the Magic of Polynesia and how I was hired as a barker, and I became the opening act for the Magic of Polynesia. Well, in the year and a half that I've been there, I never, ever exit the front door. There's an entrance cave up on the 3rd floor. You go through the cave and you come into this theater. It's amazing. I never do that. I always exit the stage from the back. I go out to the back side, to the side door. No one sees me exiting, right? No one. But this one night, the only night ever did I jump off the stage and go out the front door. The only time. So I'm talking to the maitre d' outside the door, and back then we had beepers that, you know, hooked onto your belt pants, and it went beep, 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 right? Beepers. He looked at it and he said to me, "There's a fire inside the Magic showroom." And I looked at him and I said, "There's no fire. I just jumped off the stage. Everything's fine." He said, "No, there's a fire." We looked at each other and we ran into the tunnel, into the showroom, and there it was. The lights were completely off because the show was starting. They turned off all the lights, so it's pitch black. But above the front of the stage, as you can see here in this example, the pyrotechnics, the explosion, something went wrong, and the curtains caught on fire up above on the top of the stage. And it was catching on fire very fast. And I could see it, just really going. The people in the audience thought that that was part of the show, but it wasn't. I knew that. I quickly jumped on the stage, and one of the other guys, one of the crew, the backstage crew, the magic assistants, was trying to put the fire out with a fire extinguisher, pointing it up, but the fire was about 25 feet up in the air, something like that. So the fire extinguisher could not reach the fire. When it ran out, he ran to get another one, but it was useless because the fire was too high. And because I've been there before, my experiences, I didn't panic. All the waiters, all the employees, everybody was standing there staring at the fire. Not moving, not getting the people out, nothing. I started yelling at the waiters because I knew their names, telling them to sit people down, get them up. And I yelled at the light man way at the back of the room up on the 2nd level. His name was Chris, and I yelled to Chris to turn on the house lights. When he turned on that house lights, that's when you could see the smoke pouring up from the upper ceiling, following that ceiling, coming across. Thick, huge smoke. That's when the people knew this was not part of the show, and they were in serious trouble. There were 450 plus people in that room, standing room only, and there was only one exit out. There are actually other exits, but no one was aware of those. But the customers only knew the front door. But to avoid a bottleneck panic, I started yelling at the waiters to sit them down and directed people out. Your table, go, 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 go. And the people started to get up. And as the smoke was going along the top of the ceiling, it was getting thicker, black. It was very threatening. And it hit the back wall and started to come down. And that's when people really started to panic. But I stayed in control of that crowd, telling the waiters which tables to get out. I cleared out the room in about, I would say, 5, 6, 7 minutes. It takes about half hour to get everybody into the showroom and seated. That's because of assigned seating. But in getting them out, because I got them up orderly, we got everybody out. But even the last, I would say, 60, 75 people, already the room was filled with smoke. I mean, people were choking. It was hard to see. It was, you know, the smoke was kind of burning your eyes at that point already. Everybody kind of exited. And when I realized that I think I got everybody out, that's when I realized I didn't know where the heck I am. Because you couldn't see anything. The room was filled with smoke. And so because I knew where the front door was, I kind of guessed which direction to head, because I know that I was facing the audience, so that means it was to my left. I got to the edge of the stage, felt my way, got off the stage, and kind of felt my way. Remember now, I was crawling on the carpet because you can't breathe. The only place that had air was 2 inches off the carpet. It's the only place. At that time, my eyes were burning red. I mean, I was choking, crawling, until I could feel the wall, and then I knew that this was the entrance to the cave, and I knew that I just had to go that way. But before I left, I turned around and I yelled for Ricky. Ricky was upstairs. He's the effects guy up on the ceiling. And I yelled, and I said, Ricky, get out. Are you okay? Just get out. And Ricky yelled from the top, and he told me to get out, that he was going to exit through the ceiling. And I crawled through that cave tunnel to try and find an exit. Now remember, you can't see anything. It is just filled with smoke. And I'm crawling and trying to breathe that 1-2 inches of oxygen on the bottom of the carpet. And I thought I was going to die. That's how bad it was, because I couldn't breathe. But as I got closer to the front entrance, the light from the outside was coming through the smoke. And that's when I knew I made it, because I knew where the exit was now. I stood up, and here's the thing. I come walking out, and all this smoke pouring behind me. 3 firemen standing about maybe 10 feet away from me with their water hoses ready to go in their shock, looked at me and said, is there anybody else in there? And I said, no, sir, I got them all out. And I continued to walk. And they were staring at me like they couldn't believe that somebody walked out of that. Had any number of 50 to 200 people die, it would have been the worst disaster in tourism history in Hawaii, the worst. It would have left a scar for decades. But I prevented that. And that's the training that I've had up in the mainland, and growing up on the streets in Hawaii, you know, being in dangerous situations, enough times to where you don't panic anymore. You just use the common sense and get yourself out of these dangerous situations. The reason why nobody knows is because when I went downstairs in the fire trucks, there was this huge commotion going on. John came up to me and told me to keep my mouth shut and don't talk to the media. And that's why nobody knows. The next time that you walk into a gig, make sure, it only takes a minute to walk around, know where the bathroom is. What are the different exits that you can get out in case of a disaster? Because what kills people is bottlenecking, where the crowd is all cramming to get out of one space. And that's where they find all the dead bodies piled up in front of the doors that were chained, or at the exits where too many people are trying to get out one time, and they clog up the exit. So I'm alive, and now you know the story. Hey, sometimes when it comes to saving lives, it's not about getting credit. You know, it's always a good thing to get credit, because some of us, we risk our lives. We do things in life, yeah, because we love people and we love to do it. And sometimes we do it because we're the only ones. Thank you for watching Brown Bags to Stardom.